Meta has just announced AudioCraft, text-to-music AI generator. Let's take a look at some of the creations that they have made with this. So here we can see different variations of types of music. And listen to this, 80s electronic, jazz. And just from hearing this sounds quite accurate in terms of the prompt. Now this is major for upcoming artists as well as content creators or simply people who enjoy listening to certain types of music, because this is going to revolutionize the way everything is created. So now let's deep dive into the details, what is going on powering this AudioCraft AI. So quick background on AudioCraft, it currently consists of 3 models. They have MusicGen, AudioGen, and EnCodec. And essentially MusicGen, that is trained on Meta's own and specifically licensed music, which is a key thing to remember, because if you are familiar with artists and copyright laws, a lot of songs that were created decades, 20, 30 plus years ago have received lawsuits and simply sound similar to modern day trendy music as of today because of the beats, the background, and some have been successful and some others might have not been as successful, but in general it's important to know that at least they're currently using their own licensed music to get this data, and then in return generates music from the text prompts. And also AudioGen, they have trained on public sound effects that generates audio from text prompts as well. So that's something simple as a dog barking or even rain, things of that nature. So their announcement as of today is essentially releasing their higher quality music generation with fewer artifacts. And they have it right here. Essentially, this allows you to generate environmental sounds and sound effects such as a dog barking, cars honking, footsteps on a wooden floor, and lastly, they're sharing all the AudioCraft model weights and code. So that's open for everyone to go out and take a look for themselves. Now, quick thoughts. In terms of music, I'm not too surprised to see that AI is advancing to the point where it can essentially replicate a lot of current songs out there. However, sound effects, that is another interesting industry, because if you are not familiar, a lot of movies, a lot of people utilize sound effects, and sometimes it's very difficult to find that right sound effects or that right background music if you're, for example, creating content. And I'm not sure how that's going to work if a dog barking sounds very similar to another company that licenses sound effects of a dog barking, for example. How can you differentiate which one was audio generated and which one was organic? I mean, at that point, we'll have to wait until that comes out. But as of right now, this is going to revolutionize the entire industry. So here's just a simple image showcasing how everything goes. So we have text input, lo-fi song with organic samples, saxophone solo. Goes through MusicGen, gets the output. And also for text, sirens and a humming engine approach and pass. And then we have it through AudioGen, and then we have our example out here. And the best part is this is open source, which is major because a lot of companies like to keep their information gated, but this allows people to go ahead and train their own models and their own datasets, allowing them to advance the AI generation field as specifically audio music for this example. And let's go ahead and see some more examples. What are some things you can create with this technology? So let's start off with our first example, a grand orchestral arrangement with thunderous percussions, epic brass fanfares, and soaring strings, creating a cinematic atmosphere fit for a heroic battle. Now, before I hit play, what do you expect this sound to sound like? To me, I'm personally thinking this is going to sound like some epic hero movie intro, sort of dramatic, motivational sounding. Let's see if it's somewhat similar to that. And as I thought, it does sound quite similar. Maybe you could see that in a dramatic action movie scene, or simply you make a motivational video. Similar samples of that. And at least right now, assuming everything is based off of this is quite accurate. This actually is pretty similar to the way I would have expected the sound to come out like, which is actually kind of interesting that we could recognize it and the AI also understands it fairly accurately. Now let's try another one. Classic reggae track with an electric guitar solo. So let's see what this sounds like. And as expected, that sounds pretty accurate based off of that prompt. Next we have drum and bass beats with intense percussion. So let's try this one. That one sounds pretty cool. And then let's start with this one, hip hop blend. So let's see how this one sounds. And these are just some of the examples they currently show for the text to music generation. Now let's go on and see some additional examples on what is possible. So here we can see a comparison. So now we have melody guided music generation. And now we have melody 1 and then we have AudioGen 1.5. So let's try play both and see the differences. And now AudioGen 1.5. Now that's actually quite impressive, and I can already see this being used heavily for a lot of up and coming artists. People just like to create videos, music, you name it. Just simply transitioning a typical sound into a completely different type of music. So for example, you like techno, high beat dancing music, and then you add classical onto top of that. Next thing you know, you just transform that completely. Now, obviously, if you are an expert in music creation or you understand how that works, it might seem like a simple task, maybe it's difficult, but for just the average person to just type in a prompt, change the entire sound into a completely different style of music, just with this, that's going to be revolutionary. Now, let's see this again. Example 2. So same music in the original, and now we have the updated one. So that's actually crazy. And then we can see again, it's the same example. And now let's see with a hip hop flair on top. So with just one simple audio sample, based off of this, they showed 3 different ways to transform the entire style into a completely different music genre. And it's actually quite insane sounding. I think I could see a lot of future artists or even AI artists, a whole different industry can be created from this. Now, obviously there are some pros and cons to this, which I'll discuss later in this video, but from right here, this is definitely cool to see right now. And right here is long generation. So if you've ever used any of these current AI softwares, whether it's simply for video or just audio in general, it seems that they are limited to the amount that they are able to at least release to the public. I'm sure if you have to release some 10-minute long song, that is going to cost them a lot more money to produce that. But let's just take a look at this. So right now they say AudioGen models are trained on 30-second chunks of audio, but they say it's possible to generate longer sequences with a simple windowing approach. So what they state is they have a fixed 30-second window and slide the window by chunks of 10 seconds. And they keep the last 20 seconds generate as context, and that generates those 2-minute long tracks. So here, let's try this. And I'll just go ahead and skip through it because I mean, obviously you're gonna wait here for 2+ minutes. Now, if you've ever seen those videos on Google to study background music or simply relax music in the background, those videos are typically, hours long. I've seen 1 hour, 10 hour, 20 hour, whatever it is. And if you're actually editing those type of videos and creating that type of music that long, typically you just repeat multiple different songs and you just last it up to however long you want to make the video. Here, imagine you could audio generate a 10-hour long something beats similar to this, but it's constantly changing. It's not just something repetitive. That's going to be insane already to see. And now we have some EDM. which is a more higher upbeat. So let's see how this sounds. And we can see here, it sounds fairly consistent throughout the at least parts that I checked through it. Some were a little bit random and changed, which is good to see. And then the last one is this orchestral one. And as you can see, this is the beginning of a new industry, AI generated music from text and also utilizing current audio. Now, this is definitely something to look into if you're an upcoming artist, musician, because this could easily replace that job. Maybe you have to innovate, or who knows, they can see pair in pair. The only things I think would be of concern are copyrights and sounding very similar to already popular music out there. How can you really differentiate that? And if you created from AI, utilizing licensed data, music that you own, how would you know that you infringe on something? Again, these are some thoughts that I definitely would like to hear from you guys in the comments below. But aside from that, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the latest updates in the AI space.